Hey, welcome back to our show of learning algebra. As I mentioned before in our previous series or previous class, that algebra is something which is present in our practical life, and this is our effort to show you that algebra is not something on which you have to make a real hard effort to learn or to cram. We showed a real life scenario. We took a birthday party example and we showed you how you actually solve your first algebraic equation. We also talked about what are the numbers. We also talked about what is a positive number. We also talked about what is a negative number, infinite. Remember my glasses? Think about your instructor. Think about MK. By the way, for people who did not get a chance to watch the previous class, my name is Manish. You can call me MK. I'll be the instructor for this series. And welcome along. We also talked about in our last series, or maybe the place where we left was what the positive numbers are, what the negative numbers are, and what is a term called integer. Let's see that right from that point, and we will cruise again together from that point. Now the green section, which starts from 0 and goes up to plus infinity, is called positive integer. That's for revision purpose. The series which goes from 0 to plus infinite is called whole number. Now did you notice that I'm using a word called series? Again, mathematics is all about expressions. Mathematics is all about notations. Please make sure that you have your notebook. Please make sure that you have your pencil with you. You will be noting down a lot of terms, a lot of expressions as we go along. Now, positive integers go from 1 to plus infinite. This is the infinite sign. And whole number go from 0 to plus infinite. Negative numbers go from -1 up till minus infinite, and integers is something which covers the complete spectrum of numbers from minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is where we left. What is 0? 0 is of course an integer, because it belongs to this big family. But is 0 a positive integer? No. Is 0 a whole number? Yes, 0 is a whole number. But where should 0 stand? Should it stand in the green zone or should it stand in the red zone? What sign 0 has? I think the answer to that is 0 has no sign. 0 is signless. Or you can say 0 has positive sign and 0 has negative sign. 0 is the middle of the two series, positive series and negative series. Let's say you take a number 4 from positive series, and then you take the exact same number -4 from the negative series, and then you add them up, you get the answer 0. 0 is a balancer. It's in the middle of two series. That's what 0 is. Without 0, you don't have 10, you don't have 100, you don't have a million. A 0 after a number multiplies that number with 10. A 0 before a number has no meaning. So 0 is very important. Don't think 0 is 0 in your life. Now let's think about what are the signs. We talked about positive sign, we talked about negative sign. What is the impact of putting a sign in front of a number? And in our coming slides, we'll be talking about what exactly is an impact of putting a sign in front of a number. This is our magic board, and we would like to give you a tip. Please note it down. The tip is think of negative number as a flipper. Now I'm going to explain you what a flipper is, but just note this thing down, that negative number is a flipper. It flips the meaning of the number. Let's see how it does. Our blue arrow, it shows that we have chosen a number which goes up to +4 right now. And as soon as we apply a negative sign in front of this, let's watch it carefully. It goes to -4. It flips the meaning of 4. The +4 became -4. That's called flipping. Now, what will happen if we put a minus in front of -4? Again, it's a flipper. It will flip it back. It will make it +4. If you put a minus again, it will make it -4. If you put a minus again, it will make it +4. So you keep on putting minuses, the meaning of the number keeps on getting changed. We did +4, and then plus minus is actually -4. And then when we put one more minus in front of minus +4, it became +4. Now comes our time of giving you some more serious tips. But before we do that, let's analyze what has happened here. Let's analyze the impact of putting a plus sign and the impact of putting minus sign. So what we have done here is we have drawn a table, and on the left hand side we'll be looking at the impact of putting plus sign in front of a number, and then we'll be looking at the impact of putting minus sign in front of a number. So think about +5. +5 equals 5. What if we put one more sign? One more plus sign? +5. It is still 5. What if we go crazy and we keep on putting pluses? It is still the same number. So what do we derive from here? The thing which we derive is that you can always drop the plus sign. So means that whenever you see a plus sign in front of a number, think of that as that number itself. Or whenever you don't see a sign in front of a number, think of that as a plus sign. So if you see a number 5, you think of that as +5. If you see a 7, you think of that as +7. Now how do I remember that? There is a saying that no news is a good news, right? So if we apply the same thing in the mathematics world, its positive sign is no sign, or no sign is a positive sign. That's how we remember it. Whenever we see a plus sign in front of a number, it's actually that number, or whenever we see a number without a sign, it's plus sign. So what happens in case of negative number? Well, in our real life also, whenever there is a negative news, we actually want to hear it explicitly. So that's what happens in case of negative signs also. And let's see here. Minus 5. Minus 5 is in fact minus 5. Minus plus 5 is again minus 5. Plus minus plus is again minus 5. So whenever we have a minus sign, it changes the meaning of a number. Alright, it is our tip time. This is very important that you remember these things. Plus sign can be ignored before a single number. Remember, before a single number. I'm not saying that plus sign can be ignored all the time, and we will see in our coming sessions what is the impact of plus when we are talking about putting a plus in between multiple numbers. But putting a plus before a single number is impactless, and minus signs cannot be ignored. Some more tips. Two minuses. Whenever you see two minuses in front of one number, they become 1 plus, and we will be using these tips to solve some of our algebraic equations to solve for signs. So minus minus 3 becomes plus 3. Second tip, which is very important, drop all plus signs before the single number, and we know about this thing by now. So as an example, plus 3 is 3. Let's take some more examples. Minus plus 3, that is minus 3, we know that. Plus plus 3, it's plus 3. Plus minus 3, it's minus 3. So we saw that how impact of plus sign is and minus sign is. So let's try to solve some of the equations for signs using our tips, and see how we derive the numbers using our two tips. First tip is, whenever you see two minus signs, make it a plus sign. 2 minus, make it a plus sign. And whenever you see a plus sign, just drop it, just ignore it. So minus plus 3 will be minus 3. Let's see how we solve it. Let's assume someone went really crazy about putting a lot of minus signs. So how to evaluate this equation? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 minus signs in front of a number. Well, that's not good, but we can solve it. Now with our tips, now with our examples, I think we are getting enough proficiency that we can solve this. And how do we solve it? We apply our first tip. 2 minus become 1 plus. Alright, 2 minus sign become 1 plus. 2 minus becomes 1 plus. 2 minus become 1 plus. So what do we have here? We had 6 minus signs, and they got translated into 3 plus signs. So we have got plus, plus, plus 6. Again, still we don't know what is the value of this equation. It's the time for our second tip. Drop all the plus signs. And as soon as we drop our plus signs, what do we get here? Wow, we get here 6. And 6 equals 6. See how easy it was to solve this equation. We have to understand, we have to remember these two tips in our life, and that will help us all the time in solving algebraic equation. Whenever you have 2 minus signs in front of a number, they become 1 plus sign. And whenever you see a plus sign in front of a number, just ignore it. Alright? Let's take some more examples. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, someone really went crazy. 7 minus signs in front of a number, and the number itself is also 7. How do we solve it? Let's apply our first step. 2 minus signs become 1 plus sign. And here we go. 2 minus 1 plus. 2 minus 1 plus. 2 minus 1 plus. So what are we left with? We are left with 1 minus here, because we do not have any other minus to join with and make it a plus, and then 3 pluses. So it becomes minus plus 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 7. Guess what? It's the time for our second tip. Our second tip says drop all the plus signs. Alright, we are going to drop it. And see what we got. We got minus 7. And minus 7 is not 7, remember it. Minus 7 is minus 7. So the value of this equation is minus 7. Minus, 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 minus 7. 7 times minus, and then 7 is minus 7. See how easy it was. It may look complex, and that's what happens. People are actually so scared when they look at algebraic equation. They feel like running, and that is the point. That is the gap we are trying to fill up. Do not run away from algebra. Things are present there in your real life. All you need to do is practice. All you need to do is understand the concepts. One thing I would like to request you is, after you note down all the things, go back to your libraries, go back to your textbooks, find these specific materials, practice them. Practice them, practice them. The more you practice, the more proficient you will become. This program will help you. Again and again I am repeating, this program will help you understanding the concepts. It will not make you master. You will have to practice yourself. Let's see if we can solve another equation. Minus plus plus minus minus plus plus 8. And this time we are expert in solving this equation. We'll go with our first step. 2 minus signs become 1 plus. Alright, we had just 2 minus signs, and there is 1 minus sign for which we do not have any other minus sign and make a plus. And we have got minus, plus, plus, and this plus which is derived from 2 minus signs, and then 2 more pluses. Time for our second step. Drop all the plus signs. It becomes minus 8. It was very easy, it was very simple, and I hope that by this time the concepts of putting sign in front of a number are getting clear. Let's see what we learned here. Before we wrap up this class, this is our summary time. What we did here, we got an introduction to algebra. We talked about that algebra is not something you have to learn in books. Algebra is something you have to look for in your real life. Whenever you're solving for something unknown, you're solving for x, you're solving for y, you're solving for n. You have to remember that part. Algebra is part of our life. Algebra is solving for unknown, and you have to really practice that a lot. Second thing we learned is about numbers. We learned what the numbers are. We learned what is the significance of numbers. Without numbers, you will not know how many glasses of water did I drink today. Without numbers, you will not know how many miles is my school away from my home. Without numbers, you will not know how many friends do I have. There are infinite number of examples that will happen if you do not know what the numbers are. So that's why we put a big pressure on making sure that numbers are clear to you. The next thing is, which we learnt about, was integers and the whole numbers. Again, just to give a reiteration, Integers are something which will start from minus infinity to plus infinity. We know infinity, right? Now by this time you should be all expert on using this term infinity. Mathematics is all about terms, mathematics is all about expression, and mathematics is all about practice. I'm repeating this phrase again and again because I want to put this thing in your mind that this show is not a magic show. This is a roadmap. This is a help. This program will help you. This is an effort to help you go along and learn algebra, practice algebra. So you have to always have a notebook, a pen with your hand and practice it thoroughly. So we learned about algebra, we learned about integers, we learned about whole numbers, we learned about positive integers, right? Positive integer is which will start from 1 and it will go up to plus infinity. Good, excellent. Now I think you are on the way, you are along with me. And negative integers are which will start from minus 1 and go up to minus infinity. And then we saw the impact of putting a sign in front of a number. This is very important. This will help you throughout your life in solving algebraic equation. I would say this was one of the very important steps in learning algebra, learning what is the significance of putting a sign in front of a number. Whenever you see two minus signs, you think of one positive sign. Whenever you see a positive sign, drop it. So whenever you see an expression, and in that expression, whenever you see that there are a lot of signs in front of a number, see how many, you have to count how many even negative signs are there and take them off. Now I'm using another expression called even. What is even? Even is something which is divisible by 2. So it's simplifying my first step. Two negative make one positive. In other words, even number of negative sign can be ignored. That's like if you see two negative signs, if you see 4 negative signs, if you see 6 negative signs, anything which is divisible by 2 is called even. Whenever you see even number of negative sign, you have to drop them because they become a plus sign. So we learned about integers, we learned about whole number, we learned about how to solve equation for sign. And in our coming series, we will be talking about what different real numbers are, what is a real number, and we'll be talking about balance. We'll be looking at some more complex things. What we are doing here is we are stepping into now solving algebraic equation. This was our first class, which is an introduction. All right, it's our quiz time now. Let's see how much of learning has been done here and how much you are able to grab. This is the time for our quiz, and we will ask few questions from you to make sure that the message has been clear, the algebra teaching process has been effective. We will be waiting for your answers, and please send your answers to us on the email address. We'll be giving that to you. All right, let's see what's our quiz. Quiz for the day. First question. Our first question is, what will happen if we add 1 to the famous symbol infinity. You remember that symbol? Or in other words, what is the next symbol? What is the next number after infinity? That's our first part of the quiz. You need to think about that. And second question, identify integers out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. 1, 1.7, x, minus 30, and 0. You have to tell me which numbers or symbols represent integers. Our third question, what will be the value of plus plus, minus minus, plus plus 10? You remember our tips, 2 tips which we talked about so far, and you have to apply both of those steps and see what the values will be. Now you have my email address, manish@growalgebra.com. It's very simple email address, and we'll be waiting for your answers. We'll be waiting for your replies. You have to not only send the correct answers, we will be looking for a description from you, and there will be some postings on our websites which will be coming soon. So if possible, please send us your pictures along. That will be great. Thank you.